sunshine of the time.
Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back for me. I was on a little bit of a hiatus. I took the off the grid path last week and could not feel more refreshed. And by saying that, I mean I got to play golf every single day for 7 days straight. Broke that streak today, unfortunately, with my travel back and forth between a couple different places. But we've landed in the home base in Maryland, and what do you know? Golf's open here too. So hoping to start that streak back up. But Dante, you had a hell of a streak of your own.
I did. So we knew. So the last week of April, which it was this was the same week of May. May 1st was Friday. We knew golf was back in New Jersey starting May 2nd. I went back and realized from May 2nd, it is now May 17th. From that duration of time, I've played every day except one day. And I've walked every single round, which we can get into because I've walked 3 different styles. Which, again, I'll explain that in a few. I skipped one day to just rest my feet, but walked every single day except for maybe 5 holes. It was last Friday, was with my dad, and that was the hottest day of the month so far. It was pushing 90 here in New Jersey. It pretty much stormed. We had a 9 a.m. tee time. It stormed at 7 a.m. and cleared up within seconds. So you knew once that sun came out, the humidity kicked in, and it was just steam everywhere. And I was super dehydrated because I was carrying my bag, and I didn't want to I like to keep the load light. Did not have enough water, and during the COVID time, they don't have water out for you.
Can't
so
refill
you better,
it.
Nope.
That's 306 holes in so many days. That's you figure about 4 or 5 miles per 18. Dude, you put some miles on the feet, let alone I think some marathons on the feet throughout this week. That's over 95 miles you put on the feet in 18 days. That's impressive. We talked about in the last episode how you and I both started struggling with some blisters with just, walking so much after really not walking much at all in golf shoes, and kind of conquered that. We're over both our blister debacle. But I want to get into what you mentioned earlier, because I think we had a good debate and talk about this earlier today. You had 3 different styles. What you said, you walked. You carried a Sunday carry, which was no stands. You carried a typical carry bag with stands, your kind of collegiate style bag, and then you push carted it for a little bit.
I did.
What was your favorite?
So it's a toss-up. I know we talked about this behind the scenes, texting back and forth. I chose Sunday carry mainly because of the weight. But carrying, so based on my experiences, carrying I think was the easiest out of even with if you were just to take carry on your shoulders versus push cart, because the push cart is added weight and you're pushing through if you're struggling and you're pushing through the woods and the rough, that rough grabs them wheels and it's a lot. So I feel that it's more of work than it is just to throw the bag on your back.
Well, and we talked about this too, and I think it depends what the kind of course you're at too. Because I feel like if you're at a flatter course, I've had a push cart down here a couple of times, and most of the courses on the Eastern Shore are really flat. You really don't, experience a ton of hills, and it's super easy to have a push cart because you're really not fighting it either one direction or the other. If you're going down a steep hill, you can kind of just let it go and let it run. Sometimes if you keep it in the right directions, hopefully it doesn't go squirrely on you and hit a tree or go into any water, something stupid crazy like that. But, and on the opposite direction, you're not pushing it up like any mountains or anything either, which can really become cumbersome and actually require more effort than just throwing a strap over your shoulder or both shoulders. It's funny, and maybe where I differ, just because I've done it so much in competitive golf over the last 15 to 20 years, I've always had a stand bag, and I'm just so used to, I have both a Sunday bag and a stand bag. And I'm just so used to popping it off my shoulder and just slamming the bottom of the bag into the ground, popping out the stand and just going. So it's just foreign for me still, I think, for that Sunday carry bag. But I'll throw a different scenario at you here, which we talked about off air too. Me and my buddy Steve DiCarlo down here at Rum Point. He's the pro shop guy down there, and we chose to do 7 clubs the first day we were out at Rum Point. And I had a stand bag, but taking all like half your club set in weight out actually makes a huge difference.
Oh,
I'm
I'll
saying I was short on some distances here and there, but it was pretty neat. It was a different feel for sure.
yeah, I am. First, I'd feel naked if I don't have all my clubs, even if I don't use them. But I'll agree with you how much of a weight difference it really is, because I do have a second set of irons. So the other day I was cleaning my clubs and I was sitting there. This was actually Saturday, before our Sunday round. I was sitting there. Well, what bag am I in the mood for? Like, do I want to take the push cart out again with the stand bag? Do I just want to throw my stand bag on my back and book bag it, or do I want to bust out the Sunday carry bag? Well, my second set was in my Sunday carry bag, and it's 4-iron, the pitching wedge, and I had a putter, to backup putter as well. So I grabbed that, and there's nothing else in there. And just the weight of that was hands down significant later, obviously, because there's 7 less clubs. So yeah, that I would definitely rock that. But for me personally, because I think if I were to play a legit round, and I'm playing guys for money, and I'm in that weird zone, as I would need that club. If I didn't have that club in the bag, I would just feel frustrated because I don't have it. I like to carry 14 clubs in my bag at all times. I just try and make up the difference by carrying a lot less in the pockets.
Yeah,
Like
you
I'll
know,
carry
you take your bag quantity down from like 20 balls to like 8. You just hope you really don't have a bad day and lose that many balls. You take all the possible extra gear out that you don't need, couple gloves,
mhm.
tees, whatever. You can definitely find weight, I think, in any option to kind of cut out when you really don't need it. But yeah, I would say out of all 3 of those options, I'm a carry stand bag guy, number 1. Number 2 would definitely be the Sunday carry. I've, been doing it a lot more here recently, especially with like the COVID times and stuff. And it's growing on me, but like I said, I'm just so habitually used to throwing the bag down and the stands popping out and just having the clubs up top rather than, fiddling with it a little more with the Sunday carry. But that's
I'll
just my
agree with you
style.
on that
That's just my
one. I'll
style.
agree with you on, and that's the only frustrating thing about the Sunday carry bag is you're bending over and picking it back up, and you're bending over. And if you really need like the club, you got to like hold the bag up, and it's only a 3-way divider. Mine is, so I got to sit there, and sometimes it's like the clubs are all on top of each other. And then I have to figure, I'm like, all right, where's because I have the wedges down at the bottom slot. I have all irons, 4 through 9 iron in the middle. And then I have my woods and my putter and like hybrid in the top. So the head covers can kind of get in the way. And then I'm like fishing it through, like just like swimming through, like, all right, where's and then they're not in the set spot. As with my stand bag, you pop it down, you're not bending over all the way to the ground, and then it's just standing there, obviously, no pun intended. But you have your 4 slots. You have like your long irons, your mid irons, your wedges, and then for me, I like the 4-way divider. We can get into whether you like 14 or the 4-way divider. And then you have your woods up top, and then you can individually see them, and then you can just like pick and choose what you need. And if you're indecisive, you can be like, no, I'll just put that back. Rather with the Sunday bag, like, crap, let me reach down, pick it back up, fiddle through it a little bit. That's the only biggest gripe I have at that. But when it comes to carrying it, to me, it's all about the weight.
Yeah, I
That's my
mean,
number one priority.
I totally agree with you there, and like we said a little bit earlier, I think there's ways to find weight no matter what you're carrying. But that was interesting. I was very intrigued that you said that was your go-to, and um,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to know what our listeners. I mean, I see guys that are tagging us all the time, ladies and gentlemen that are tagging us all the time. It seems like it's a really good mix. It seems like there's a ton of people out there that love the push cart life. It seems like there's a ton of people that love that Sunday bag, Sunday carry kind of vintage style. The Mackenzie, the Joneses of the world, they love carrying those. Those Sugarloaf Social Club disciples out there love carrying those kind of style bags. And then I feel like there's guys like me and that have been either in the competitive side of things that have had that stand bag forever, that are just used to that stand bag, or don't like bending over all the time either. So
Yeah.
it's
One
just
thing,
it's a funny kind of dichotomy that you love to look at from time to time.
yeah, and I love all of them because chose I chose to pull out the push cart the other day. Just I was like, let me give my back a rest, and I was actually shocked from playing so many consecutive days that I was able to feel what the differences between the three. That to me, I don't know if it's because I was dead ass tired. My legs were just, dragging. That could be it. But for some reason, I thought I was utilizing more energy while walking using a push cart, which shocked me. I felt I was actually, and most of the courses we were playing they're pretty flat, so like the terrain wasn't very difficult to walk at all, even with the push cart. That I was shocked that I thought I felt I was utilizing more energy
Now that's
pushing the cart.
interesting because Isaiah always told me, and kind of my college coaches and a lot of D1 college coaches, you see D1 college teams using push carts a
Mm-hmm.
lot. It's
Yeah.
kind of like ingrained in like Division 1 kind of, I don't know if it's just like the mentality they have, or just a little bit of urban legend, but it's like college coaches swear that it takes off at least 3 to 4 strokes per 18. Now, over a 4-day tournament, that adds up to a lot of strokes throughout the weekend. So, like, I used it a couple times. I was never sold. I felt like as long as I kept my carry bag light, it was kind of just an even keel kind of thing. I never realized anything drastic when I would use it for a whole weekend as opposed to not using it. It was also one of those things where I only used it like here or there, so I wasn't really comfortable with it either.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's one of those things you have to get used to.
And yeah, absolutely. And actually, to kind of counter your argument regarding what you were saying about college coaches saying it saves 3 to 4 strokes, it may. Um, Obviously, it comes down to the temperature wise too, which I'll get into. But think about this: if you're throwing a carry bag on your back and you're walking actually less miles, because think about it, you walk up, say your ball your ball's over the green, you have that bag on your back, you just walk right across the green. With the push cart, you got to walk around the green because you're not pushing the cart on the green.
On the
You know
same
what I
goes for
mean?
T
So,
complexes. You got to go through a couple
mm-hmm,
here places here or there. Push cart can't go. I
exactly.
see your argument 100%. I think at the end of the day, I think I see where the coaches are coming from. Like, all right, it's getting it off your back. Heck, even we'll get into the match a little bit, the driver relief match, but they were talking a little bit on air about how sometimes you could kind of see Ricky or Matt Wolf kind of shrugging the shoulders a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because those
Oh
guys aren't
yeah.
used to carrying their clubs.
I mean, think all that weight's
So
on your traps right there, and you want to have loose shoulders
and those are
when you're
vital muscles to make a golf swing. So I mean,
exactly.
it's like it's half a dozen here, half a dozen the other. Of is it really good? Is it saving you?
I'll tell you what, I figured it out, like temperature wise, range wise, on what I'm using, and I'm telling you, if it's basically high 70s, 80s or more, I'm pumping out that push cart because I'm carrying a crap ton of water with me, because that's the one great thing, you can carry storage with that
That was going
when
to
you're
be my other
carrying.
argument. Yep,
Yeah,
was you
when
could
you're
just
carrying.
pile that baby full of
Mm-hmm.
like
And then you
water,
can buy.
snacks, whatever.
And here's the one I have, no free ads, I guess you say, Click Gear, which is pretty much the most popular brand of push carts, and it's the Click Gear 3.5. It's the tri-wheel one. Click Gear is great. They have all these attachments you can get. You can get these coolers that attach to the back of the thing, all these different types of things, foot brushes, all this. So if you're going to play in a 90-degree day, and you want to walk, I'd recommend taking a push cart, fill up that little pouch cooler or whatever, or your cart bag cooler, fill it up with water,
Well, here's something interesting,
soda.
and this kind of just came across our radar today, which was really interesting. The Wall Street Journal came out with an article. We're recording this on the 17th, so they came out with this on Sunday, but they came out with an article that said, hey, everyone knows we're out of toilet paper and hand sanitizer, duh,
Mm-hmm.
but why is the United States out of golf push carts? seems like there's a shortage of golf push carts within the United States. And it basically goes on and on to say that, they used Robbie Gould, who's the San Francisco 49ers kicker, as kind of like an example story. But he went to you would think as an NFL star, you have the gamut of what you can get at your disposal. And he went to the stores, he went to his, kind of connects. Nobody could get him a push cart. So, he kind of within figuring all of this out was like, wow, nobody can get me push carts. And the Wall Street Journal did a little digging, and it turns out all of these manufacturers that are, making golf push carts are from China, are from places that have been heavily affected from COVID-19. And there is a huge backstock of push carts. No one can actually get a new push cart. So, insider fact here, if you want a golf push cart, you might have to go on to Facebook Marketplace or eBay or some third-party dealers, because I don't think you're going to find any too many new ones out there right now, which is actually, pretty interesting and cool for our brand, because I think you've seen a turn in the tide of the golf industry of, places that used to only allow carts are, all of a sudden not only deciding to allow it, but having to allow it. Like it's the only option if they want to open. And I think people are starting to realize, and I think you saw it today too, with guys carrying their clubs. Now, granted, they were pros, but pace of play was very quick. The guys shot their distances with their, distance measuring devices and hit a shot. I actually thought, why don't we see more of this on tour? It would probably diminish a little bit of the caddy's job. But if you're getting a Bushnell rangefinder, hell, not only does it open up sponsorship opportunities for brought to you by Bushnell, the yardage or whatever like that, but it makes play quicker. And I think you wouldn't see as many 6-hour rounds on PGA Tour if you had rangefinders.
Oh, for sure. Especially if you're in those weird off distances, or God forbid you hook or push one left or right, and now you're based on your yardage book, you're completely off, and now you got to do the math. Now you got to walk. Okay, well, how offline am I from the 150s? Say I'm at like the 150 yardage on the hole. How off am I? Like if you look at that angle, what's the actual distance? And now they're sitting there trying to figure that one out, rather than, let me just grab this rangefinder real quick, scope it. Oh, I'm actually 143, but I'm actually in line. I'm parallel with the 150, but the angle I have, I'm actually closer to the hole.
Yeah, and I'd love to know too, going back on just like the push cart shortage and people walking more than they are riding just because they have to. I'd love to know what percentage of golf courses across the country and maybe even across the world, and maybe our listeners can help us figure this one out, actually have like the GPS devices in the carts, because I think it's a small amount. I think it's growing maybe, but I think, most of your resort courses and most of your, high end courses might have it, but I think a majority of your courses that have carts don't. And I think, with that being said, when you don't have that GPS device, it's definitely quicker to walk. But I just thought, interesting little fun fact there of the golf world kind of making headline news because of some shortages in our own right, just because people are walking more. So it's pretty cool and pretty on brand for us. One thing I didn't do the last 7 rounds I played is walk. I was out at my cabin with my family and my uncle and dad and grandfather, and my grandfather's up in age, just about 80 some years old. So he always rides. And my uncle is one of those guys that he only plays golf to drink beer, and to drink beer he only plays golf. So we rode, and but it was fun, man. It was a great time. And shout out to the staff out at Valley View Golf Club in Moorfield, West Virginia. My dad and uncle had played there just like maybe a month ago, and the greens were like unputtable. They said there was just patches everywhere. We got back there this past week. The greens were running like about a 9 or a 10 on the stimp, and they were smooth. So they have been absolutely putting in the work. The course was just an absolute treat. Played 36 on, what was it, Friday, played 18 on Thursday and 18 on Saturday before we left. So it's an absolute blast. Got my fill of golfing, and it's got me back in the itch, man. It's got me absolutely back in the itch. And I'm not looking to slow down anytime soon.
Dude, I've been playing so bad, but I just want to go out and play again. Like tomorrow I mean, it's going to be a decent day. It's tonight. We're recording Sunday. It's going to be Monday, and it, weather looks pretty decent, but I need to give my body a break because I'm just beat. But at the same time, a part of me just says, screw it. Let's just go play. Let's go play 18 again. And
It's
I'm
crazy
like
how that
itching to
works,
get
though.
back.
It's crazy how that works because, I was telling you a little bit off air. My dad was absolutely beat. We played. Actually, I'll backtrack here too. We played 2 days while I was home, right after Mother's Day. So we played that Monday and that Tuesday before we left for West Virginia up at Penn National. We played up at Penn National Iron Forge course. That place was in phenomenal shape. Those greens were running about midsummer form.
Wow.
And we got caught in possibly one of the windiest days we
Yeah.
ever saw. I was hitting 3 woods going like 195 dead into the wind. It was fun though, man. It was a test. My dad and I walked that. And then we walked 9 at my home course, Mountain View Golf Club in Fairfield, Pennsylvania. Kind of where it all started for me and Isaiah. We grew up on that course. Isaiah grew up about a 9-iron from the 6 tee box. So, it was fun going back to the old stomping grounds and playing there, and fired a pretty good number there. And then we went down to West Virginia, like I said, but we walked most of those rounds before we got down to West Virginia. So by like day 4 in a row, my dad was just beat. And the poor guy, and I'm sorry for our listeners, I'm going to say the S word, the shanks. My dad had the shanks,
Ooh.
the entire front 9. And he packed it in and drank beer the whole back 9 because he said, I will not play the back 9 with how I'm swinging. So he gave his body a rest, came out and shot 2 days later, shot 79. So, I think there's something to be said about just knowing when to shut your body down and give it a rest, because especially coming off of quarantine when maybe we were only getting the indoor swings every once in a while, the body doesn't know what to do with that much golf.
That and just the conditioning that you're putting your body into, going from, April was nothing. It was pretty much just inside locked in, and I didn't move, to then bang, May 2nd, we're out playing golf, and I've walked every single round. So yeah, the first week, so I played from May 2nd, which was a Saturday. I played till Wednesday, took a break on Thursday, and then played from Friday all the way until today, Sunday the 17th. So just like those first 4 or 5 days, my body was destroyed. I was exhausted. I woke up like nauseous because I was just so beat to, the break. And then I just went. And I guess that day break, just my body was able to recover. I went out and just completely walked and just was like, let's go. And then, oh, look at this.
I was gonna say, you want to know something about somebody that knows some long hours, I think is about to join us right now. Long time, Isaiah. You've been putting in the hours and putting into work, man. How are things down in Virginia?
Oh, things are good here. It's crazy. We never shut down for any of the COVID stuff. Never really affected us. We stayed open. Fortunately, our course, they say, is conveniently located off a highway. It's not that convenient. Honestly, it's out in the middle of nothing, which is fantastic for us. So social distancing is very easy to do there. Like I said, we haven't shut down at all. We've been doing 80 plus rounds a day, running tee times at 10-minute intervals. Up until recently, we didn't have any pool noodles in place, no masks, weren't necessarily wiping down carts like crazy. We've kind of taken the approach that COVID isn't as serious as it's been made out to be, but certainly we've been respectful of people that have a differing opinion. But yeah, the course has been open. I've been working crazy. I didn't get off work tonight until 9 o'clock. So if that tells you anything, doing 80, 90 rounds of golf a day has been pretty typical for us. So COVID's good for business.
That's exciting, man. Yeah, and you've been constantly sending us pictures of when you're on the job, and course looks fresh, man. Course looks in great shape, and I think that's the one thing, like you guys never shut down, so you guys maybe didn't have the luxury some other grounds crews had to really bust butt and get some stuff done while people weren't on the course. But I think we didn't have that bad of a winter this year either, which I think a lot of courses are benefiting from. And what's the membership kind of feeling like from what you guys are putting to the table as far as course conditions wise?
I mean, the course is just fantastic. We've in the past year we've put over 5 million into course renovations. That included new bunkers, new fringes, new approach areas, a lot of bent grass shipped in on refrigerator trucks in the last couple months. The course is really never been in as good a shape as it is. It's huge. This renovation is fantastic.
The
We love to
renovation
see
is
it. You
huge.
love to see it. The greens, they're starting to heal up. We punched them a couple weeks ago, but we did have a cold spell here. Temps weren't getting above 62, 63 degrees, and bent grass doesn't come back that quick. But when it does, here in the next week, we're going to get some rain and some warmer temps, so the greens will heal up fully and be rolling at 12 or 13 within a month. So the course is great. Members love it. We're getting more and more members joining every day, running some promotions, joining with no initiations, 170 a month. You really can't beat those prices. We're about to jump to $1,000 just to join, and then probably 400 a month. So trying to grow the place, grow the business. People love it. The course is in great shape. Manor house is beautiful. We're going to build a new clubhouse, pools, tennis courts, the whole 9 yards. The operation is going to be comparable to anything else that's offered in the country, except for maybe a TPC Sawgrass. But
Yeah, no, it's exciting, man. I know when you said you first went down there, you were kind of excited to see the place grow and kind of be in the mix of it. What are your day-to-day operations as far as, when you hit the ground running as soon as you get there to when you close shop at obviously 9:00 in the evening?
Yeah. I mean, some days I'm getting off a little bit earlier than others, but I mean, we're opening up at 7:00 and people are showing up. It's just one tee time after the other, slam packed usually, weather depending, of course. People have nothing better to do right now, so they might as well come out and play golf on a beautiful course with beautiful scenery, and they're certainly taking advantage of that. I think we had 30 or 40 people join as new members in the last couple months. So like I said, business has been really good for us. The course is fantastic. I can't say it enough. I played there for 5 years.
It's funny you say that. When the first day I went out in Maryland, the guy that was manning the desk and making the tee times and everything was like, "Oh, are you one of the new members? We've had over 45 members join today, and this was the first day that Maryland Golf opened, and it was like 45 members had joined like the Ruart Golf membership, and I was like, dang." That's a lot of new memberships for
a
one
lot of
day.
people had a lot of time on their hands to do their research.
A lot of people put that stimulus check to use pretty quickly, I think.
They definitely did, for sure.
But it's a good time for golf, man. I was telling Dante, I think a little bit before you hopped on, my dad was telling me, man, our old stomping grounds, Mountain View, before Maryland had opened, for those people who are just listening and maybe don't know where we're at, Fairfield, Pennsylvania is very close to Maryland. Like
couple miles over,
Yeah. So when Maryland golf wasn't open and Pennsylvania golf was, they saw a huge uptick in kind of Maryland play at Mountain View. And my dad said, man, it looked like it was one of those, scramble fundraiser tournaments that have been playing there. And it was just, regular play because you couldn't find a parking spot. Heck, there was people parked down the entry to get in because it was so busy. So it's a good time for golf, man. I think, for some reason, I think whether it's Tiger coming back or just, people maybe realizing golf's one of those outdoor things that, you obviously can do while still being shut down in some states. And it's a good time for the game. I think there's a huge uptick in play, not only at private courses, but I think public courses and kind of just, all the way around.
And there's an increased focus on walking, which is great for us. We certainly like to enjoy the walk, but now some courses are completely shut down to the point you can't even take a cart. So you might as well enjoy it, get your steps in, enjoy the day. But one thing I've noticed more than anything else is just how everybody's returning to sort of a grassroots America where we talk to one another, we enjoy seeing other human beings. There's just more emphasis and value placed on the relationships we have with people, understanding that we could all be taken out because of a virus, but
it puts it in perspective, man. And I think, what better place to do that than the golf course, and what better place to see it than the golf course too. I think everyone who golfs, I think understands it maybe more than those who don't golf, of just how much, how close the game of golf is the game of life. We say it all the time. But every person I've ran into at the golf course is just in such a phenomenal mood, whether it's because they're finally able to get out of the house after being told to stay in for so long, or just realizing that, hey, like you said, life's fickle. Life's a fickle thing, and we're not guaranteed tomorrow. So, damn it, I'm going to go out, and if I shoot 78 or if I shoot 108, I'm going to enjoy today because I'm outside, and it's a heck of a lot better than being at work or, being told by the boss to do this or do that. We play an awesome game that allows us to get out in the outdoors and breathe some fresh air and love life. So, yeah, man, I'm excited to see kind of how the game grows after all this, because I think there's going to be a huge just kind of newer, bigger interest in not only people that have played before but are picking it up again, but people that have never played before and are checking it out and saying, what's this golf thing all about? I might have to give it a go.
Yeah, for sure. Everywhere.
No, that's awesome, man. Happy to hear. Busy's not a bad thing sometimes, and I know you're definitely busy, so that's definitely for sure. But we touched on before you hopped on, and we just touched on it there again. Huge uptick in walking. We saw it again this weekend with the driving relief match, and the pros out there carrying their own bags. Pretty sweet. I mean, we'll get into it, but DJ took a little while to figure out actually how to carry his bag correctly or somehow like that. I think DJ completely forgot this was actually happening till Sunday morning, but we'll get into that too. As a whole, just like from the event side of things, what do you guys think about golf finally being back? And I think, we've touched on it before too, but I think we expected it to be back before other sports. But how do you think, golf's first introduction into playing again went?
I was excited to see it because mainly for the sole fact reason that the players did not have their caddies. They had to carry their own bag, and they were allowed to use rangefinders. And it was a foursome. It was the closest thing that the common weekend golfer was going to watch that is related to the game that you and I play at our home tracks or whatever public track that we go to or private course or whatever. That's the closest thing you will see pros related to the common man golfer. And I even told my dad, I said, yo, Dad, there's this match going on Sunday. It's Ricky, Matt Wolf versus Rory and DJ. But get this, they have to carry their own bags. And he goes, what? Oh, man, we got to watch that. I want to see that.
It definitely made for what must-watch TV. And I think, even if you weren't a golf fan, I think the only other thing on today was NASCAR, and it was at different times, so it really didn't conflict. But it was that final, like, maybe breath of fresh air to everyone. It's like, finally, live sports again. I don't have to go back and watch, Dante, you've been watching 90s basketball. I've been watching some of the old baseball tapes from back in like the Mark McGuire big steroid era. So that's fun. The long ball days. But finally it's like, man, I get to turn on something and it's happening now. They're not wearing masks. They're not, just it's something. It's a step forward in finally getting back to seeing some normalcy. So I think the world as a whole was pumped to see it happen. And after after it was all over, Rory kind of commented, he's like, I just love getting the juices flowing again. This is what we do. This is what I strive for. I strive to usually kick off 3 of these guys' asses and everyone else in between is, it was cool to see those guys get some competitive juices back. And, hopping into it there too, we got to see Seminole for the first time on TV, which I thought was pretty spectacular, kind of the old stomping grounds of Hogan where he used to go practice in the wintertime. I thought it did a phenomenal job as a golf course of kind of just like stepping up to the scene. And, people said it could have played a lot harder because they got a lot of rain in the last couple of days and it wasn't playing as firm and fast as normal. But I think as an overall golf course, some of those holes, especially those that like back up to the Atlantic, they're bears. They're absolute bears, and they showed their teeth today. But I think those guys were a little rusty today too.
I mean, how can you not be? And everything's been locked down for so long. What courses can you go to? I know most of them have been open, but I guarantee you normal practice routines have been completely interrupted at some point or another.
And Dante and I talked on it too. And most of, I'd say, 98% of the call-ins they had on today's broadcast were unnecessary and not needed. But the one that I actually did enjoy was the call from John Rahm. He's a TaylorMade guy. He actually turned down playing in the event, just because of some family connections he had with Spain and just, some concerns he had that he might actually spread the virus, not having it himself yet. But he called in and he made a really cool point. He's like, I'm number 2 in the world. I'd love to be playing there with those guys. But I think we all shut it down for a little bit, golf practice wise, once all this came around. They all took it as a time to, kind of treat it as a second off season and say, you know what, I am going to give the body a rest and give the mind a rest and just get away for a little bit. So I think, we talked earlier in the podcast a couple weeks ago when this all first started that we were like, oh, well, the pros have the TrackMans and the pros have this and the pros have that. Well, it doesn't matter how much you have if you aren't utilizing it and if you're kicking the feet up on the couch. And I think we all did that at some point during the shutdown, was just take this as a time to rewind, relax and maybe just, hit the reset button. So it was cool to see, the top guys in the world have the same mentality.
Yeah. And tell you what, man, watching that too. And I mean, whether you're playing with your buddies or whether you're watching the pros, you don't want them to play bad. You want them to try and play as best as possible. But it was cool to see them kind of come down to our level and see that, these guys were rusty, and which I loved of the fact, and I hate when they do it. Golf Channel puts some damn sound effects into every single shot. Everybody's driver's flush, everybody's wedge is flush, and every iron is flush. They did it in the beginning, but it was off. Yeah, I don't know if you guys picked that up.
It was a good half second, if not more, off. Yeah, and the guys were in their follow through, and then the driver was hitting the ball. It was the most hilarious thing in the world. Then
I think they stopped it, and you literally heard their actual shots, which was great to see because, as Isaiah probably knows better than I do, but a lot of those pro guys get their damn. And even the TaylorMade guy talks about it time. He hot metals the shit out of their drivers, which deadens the sound. And you heard it every single time those guys drove the ball. Mm-hmm. It was just dead, because that's the sound that they like. But if you go back 5 months ago watching a PGA Tour, all their drivers sounded the same, and that pissed me off because I know they put the sound effects. But what was cool is you can hear them. They didn't flush it every single time.
I think it was after the 4th or 5th hole, it just dropped. Yeah, and I was pumped to have it drop, to be honest.
You can hear thin shots. You can just hear off shots, and you just knew by their expressions, which I was glad that they took away that aspect, and you can just come back. These guys are normal. They're phenomenal golfers, but they're not perfect. And it was great to see. I know DJ hit one thin and you can hear it. And they're like, oh, he caught it a little thin, and you just heard it. And I was like, yes, but you don't want to see it. But you can see the rust is on them, and you can see how everybody, even our games. Oh, my game's to shit. I am so in between the ears. We won't even have to go down that rabbit hole.
Tune into next week's podcast where we dissect Dante's swing top to bottom and hopefully get him prepared.
The rust is there. Pros have it. We have it. And I think today was a great way for them to showcase live sports from a kind of a month or two break, and just see raw golf.
I
was loving everything about it.
There was some cool aspects of it though, which I think, just obviously rust or no rust, these guys are a step above the rest. People forget how hard Matt Wolff swings at the ball. He had a couple swing speeds today, and especially they featured some long drive holes where the guys were competing for long drives for extra money, towards the relief fund. And Matt Wolff was swinging over 130 miles an hour. That's faster than DJ. That's faster than Rory. I mean, you talk about guys that bomb the ball with DJ and Rory. They're notorious for that. It was cool to see Matt Wolff kind of outpacing these guys off the tee. And he won both long drives today, which was pretty cool. And I think, showed the golf world that, hey, these young bucks are stepping up and they're swinging harder than, the mid-30s guys that are notoriously long bombers. The game's going to get longer in the next generation. There's no doubt about it.
That, and it just goes to show you that those guys that are out there playing, they're not always swinging as hard as they possibly can. And there's a reason for that. They're trying to control the ball flight. They're trying to hit to specific landing areas. They're out there trying to get the best or shoot the lowest score that they can, rather than just hit bombs like perhaps Phil's trying to do. And maybe that's why he doesn't hit many fairways.
I was going to say, ever since he started hitting bombs, he really dropped off the accuracy meter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny because you hit the nail on the head. I think, Matt Wolf's not swinging 130 plus every tournament, and especially not when he's trying to climb up the leaderboard. He's trying to put himself in position, like you said, hit the controlled shots to put himself in the right sides of the fairways to attack pins. But when it's a long drive hole for a COVID relief foundation, you swing all out. So it was cool to see that. And, you saw the Twitter world going a little crazy. George Gankus was stoking the fire a little bit, saying, Scooby swings harder than the rest. And it was cool to see Gankus get involved with it too. And, Twitter was a buzz today around golf. And that was really cool to see, whether it was good or bad, which I think we'll get into, next. But Twitter was a buzz because of golf. And that was cool to see.
Just got people talking again. Talking live stuff rather than talking politics or just talking COVID numbers, and just kind of talking,
normal stuff.
Yeah, basically our normal reality right now. And it was nice to just get a huge group. And that's what I think is so great about like us and, Enjoy the Walk and just our golf community is now that golf's back. It's that escape from this reality that we are in, that now this today allowed, and this match allowed the rest of the world, even the non-golf viewers, to step away from the normal reality that we're living in, and kind of just, wow, live sports is back. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like we're coming to a close to get back to this normal state that we used to be in, to just kind of get things moving again. And obviously it's going to be a different type of normal down the road, but that's where the end game is to be. Like, we're human. We're born and we're developed to interact with one another, not hide inside some cave. And it was great to see that, and people are interacting. Twitter's going again, because when all sports, hockey, football, baseball, basketball's all around, Twitter is going nuts. And it's cool to see people debating on a sports thing rather than a political side of thing. And it was neat to see, whether it was good or bad. And listen, there was a lot of great moments that this match had, but there's also a lot of bad things that came to it, and that's sport right there.
Well, I was going to say, the one thing that has not changed and was not, different from the norm was, unfortunately, as always, we hold our fingers, we cross our fingers, hold our breath, and say, maybe the golf broadcast will be different this time around. And it wasn't. Yet again. You would think, after all the time of not just us little peons in the golf industry complaining about it, tweeting about it, letting our voices be heard on our listenership, it's the big guys complaining about it now. It's the Sports Illustrated writers of the world, it's the other analysts of the world complaining about how bad this coverage is, and it never changes. Golf Channel goes back to the same old script, where they call in people who really don't know what is even happening. And then, let alone with all this COVID-19 stuff, there was people covering the match today that were 8 states away, if not more. I mean, there was a guy from Michigan covering a tournament live in Florida. I'm sorry, but you can't do that. You needed 1 or 2 guys on the ground in that match, and that's it. And we sure as heck didn't need Bill Murray trying to figure out Zoom live on air, because that was a shit show. I love Bill Murray. He's phenomenal at the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am every year, and he's a hilarious actor. Not good on Zoom and live golf television broadcast. And that was just the tip of the iceberg of where they got it wrong. We heard barely any conversation that actually mattered from the 4 guys playing. And I think that's where they get it wrong all the time. They mic these players up expecting to get little bits of gold, but then cover it up.
You saw the mics too.
Yeah,
the
but then they
mics
covered
were
up.
literally on the back of their belts. You saw that they were wired up and they had the little box, and you knew that, oh, this is going to be awesome. And this is what we always ask for is, and this is something the amateur golfer can take, is, especially when the caddies are back, is, did the discussion and the knowledge and the golf IQ that these players, these are the best players in the world, have, that you can actually, you and I can take, and Isaiah, well, he's better than us, but you can take bits and pieces from them and learn something about strategy, about course management. And even I thought it was going to be cool because I know Ricky was talking to Matt Wolf a lot based on Seminoles greens and how they operate and how they run and like how this break actually is, even though it looks this way. They were talking about it and you can hear in the background, and then boom, the broadcasters came in and were like, yeah, let's cut to a commercial or talk about this. And it's
unbelievable
like,
to me. You have Ricky Fowler, who's won the pro member there countless times. You have Rory McIlroy, whose dad's a member there, so he plays there all the time. And we got no inside course knowledge on Seminole today because they covered it up or went to commercial or talked directly over them. Like you could hear the announcers directly talking over conversations between Rory and DJ, between Ricky and Matt. Like you could hear it was going on underneath the broadcasters, but you couldn't hear it. And it was unbelievable to me that Golf Channel continuously, time and time again, thinks, oh, we'll mic these players up, and they give us like 8% of the entire broadcast of the actual mic up, which is what everyone talks about.
I've started to see the Golf Channel and perhaps the PGA of America as the vampires of that realm. I see so many of these good players mic'd up, and there's so much information, like Dante said. There's so many things that we can learn from them just from their conversation, and even be transported from our homes, apartments, what have you, to the course with them to sort of immerse ourselves better in that environment. But I see the Golf Channel leeching off of the talent they have, because a McIlroy or a Tiger is going to draw a huge crowd of people, a large viewership. And instead of them focusing on the ability and listening to what those guys have to say and perhaps learning something valuable for the rest of the golf population, they would rather use that as an opportunity to promote themselves or Lexus or Mercedes or whatever advertisements are going to come on. They're just using that as a platform. They're leeching off the talent these players have just to better themselves instead of providing us with good viewership.
I couldn't have said it better. And I think you see it constantly too on the censorship and the overall just kind of like rule the PGA Tour thinks that you need to have even on social media. You can't repost PGA Tour content. You can't repost a soundbite. You can't repost a swing without a soundbite. You can't repost anything for the PGA Tour. Now look at other large entities. The NBA, they pray that you repost it. It's good for brand. The NFL,
it's free marketing.
The NFL, share the crap out of the best play of the week. Hell yeah, why wouldn't you? Gets people talking. Every large sport outlet anywhere wants you to share their content. Because why do you share their content? It gets it out to more people. No, not the PGA Tour. Anything that goes out golf-related has to have the PGA Tour logo under, or you can't share it. That's not good for the game. That's greedy.
One of my biggest gripes was, like I said earlier, that my dad and I were really excited. The fact is these guys are strapping the bags to their back, just like I'm doing at my home course with my buddies in our Sunday matches, and, you know, wearing shorts when you didn't even they hit the tee. It was just like any other normal broadcasted PGA event. They all take their tee shots. You see it. You see them land. It was on a par 3. They immediately went to the commercial. You're watching a Farmers Insurance commercial, one of Ricky's, sponsors, right? Obviously, you need it to, pay and all that, whatnot, pay these guys and, pay for advertisements because a lot of viewership. I get that business side of it. But for the love of God, split screen it like you do all the other tournaments and let me see these guys. Like my dad said, he goes, oh, I'm excited to see these guys walk up and down the fairway. Like, let me see these guys come as close to the common man golfer that we are, right? The weekend warrior, the hack, whatever you want to say. And let me see that visual. You don't have to put sound on or anything. You can still run the advertisement. Just put that in the corner. My dad looked at me. He goes, to be honest, this is kind of boring.
It was a snooze fest from start to finish because the broadcast sucked. Now, I know the golf wasn't a snooze fest, You got some of the top players in the world. Rory McIlroy, number one in the world. Number one in the world, Dustin Johnson. That golf was not a snooze fest. I can tell you that right now. You wonder why people joke all the time about, well, if I want to go to sleep, I'll put golf on. And it's true.
I say
Hell,
it.
if I want to put,
too.
I'm a golf fan. I'm a golf nut, and I put the golf broadcast on and want to go to sleep. It's pathetic. That golf.
Bubba Watson said it one time too.
Yeah.
He said, "Golf's boring."
Yeah,
it's pathetic, man. And it's like we were watching it back and forth, and we had group chats going like crazy of everyone in our like kind of different little niche realms saying, this is horrible. This is pathetic. Why are we not seeing this? Why are we not seeing that? They missed a whole hole. Par 4. We barely saw the tee shots. We didn't really see where they landed. We didn't see their approach shots. And all of a sudden they're on the green. It's like, well, how'd they get to the green? Who's who?
There's so much in between that we missed.
They do that all the time. All of a sudden you just see one guy putting. I know we talked about this a couple months back, that for about an hour and a half of whatever tournament we were watching, I forget what it was, we saw nothing but putts for an hour and a half.
Oh man, I remember that.
Yeah.
That was brutal.
And that's unacceptable. That is so boring. Dude, Ben Hogan would fall asleep to that.
Mostly because he hated putting. But
Well, yeah. I mean, exactly.
Then you had one group out there, one foursome, the entire course. How do you not have a shot tracer on every single shot?
We called it, didn't we? We called it. We said there's one group, and Golf Channel and the entire broadcast would find ways to not show us every shot, and they did it. They did exactly what we said they would do.
What was crazy is they actually had the camera behind them as if there was going to be a tracer. And Matt Wolf took like a rip at it. And I'm like, oh, where's the line?
Yeah.
Where's the tracer?
It was
What's it even there?
Every time you thought there was going to be a line, there wasn't. The only time the line was there is when you weren't expecting it. And you're like, ooh, shot tracer. Okay, nice. The next one will have it, right? Wrong. Wouldn't
Is
have
it too much? Is it simply too much to ask for this with all the technology we have available to us to keep these players mic'd up in situations like this? Every player should have a mic. You should have the ability via an app or a website, what have you, to tune in, follow a specific group, watch them from start to finish, and hear every word they said from the first tee box to the 18th green.
You hit it spot on, and shout out to our guys at Leave the Pin podcast. We were talking about it today. He said, why doesn't PGA Tour Live, because you already subscribe to it, so, you know, it's an added purchase from the Golf Channel. You know, why doesn't PGA Tour Live have it like the UFC would, or like a pay-per-view, uncut, uncensored, start to finish, every shot, every guy saying every word? How hard is that? It's not.
Bridges
and
the gap.
the PGA Tour would get their money.
Easily.
Like, I mean, come on. It's incredible to me how we haven't had this yet, and how it just continues to get worse, actually, before it's even starting to get better. Continues to get worse.
True.
It was just a joke, absolute joke. But let's talk about golf. Let's get back into the actual golf being played today, because we could talk about how bad the broadcast is for hours on end. I know we could, because it irritates all three of us just the same. There was some good golf being played today. You know, Ricky lit it up. And as I think if you actually knew the kind of backstory behind each player's story around Seminole, you kind of would have put your money on Ricky winning the pro member a couple times. And you would have put your money on Rory too. But Ricky there went on a stretch. I think it was 6 holes, 5 birdies, something like that, kind of middle of the round. Ricky's putting was obviously on display. Seminole is a incredibly hard course because of the green complexes. And I think I want to get into that a little bit too. You saw it kind of historically Donald Ross style course. And that's what was so cool about it. You know, no one in the public eye has seen Seminole on TV, or really seen Seminole at all for that matter. It was cool to see a classic Donald Ross track. I love seeing courses like that.
Yeah, a different track, one that's not in the regular PGA rotation or Korn Ferry rotation. I mean, that's something they should be doing, not just playing the same 20 courses every year. Mix it up. I mean, it's the best players in the world. They can handle it. Put them on a tough course. Put them in something that's not 100% perfect every time. Let them showcase their skills. Arnold Palmer, one of his biggest gripes was the fact that PGA Tour players at any professional level, a pro golfer's job is to be an entertainer. Show people the skill that you have. Don't just put them on the same 20 courses every year that are always perfect, and listen to them complain if, the greens are a half a foot on the stem slower than what they're used to.
I mean, we can talk about it in the same regard as Dante and I were talking earlier today about the difference between, the generational gap between the Michael Jordan era of basketball and LeBron era of basketball. It's not the same game. It's a touchy feely game now, and it's kind of showing the same regard in golf now. They go to the same, like you said, 20, 30 tracks. Guys manicure their schedules around the courses that they like, that they feel like they can play well at, and that's not a whole rounded golfer. You're not a full whole rounded golfer like the guys were back in the day, like the Greg Normans, the Arnold Palmers, the Jack Nicklauses, the Sevis. Hell, Seve could play well wherever you put him. Seve could shoot 8 under par at a goat pasture if he wanted to. I mean, it was that kind of all around golfer that, don't get me wrong, I still think Tiger's one of the greatest to ever play, but I think the game's changed a little bit, especially with the new technology we have now and all the tour courses running at least at 13 or above on the stimp, and fairways running like runways, and it's incredible that we don't see more golf courses in the rotation because they've gotten comfortable, I think is what it boils down to.
Yep.
And like Dalton and I were texting back and forth earlier today, and this is my opinion, and it all comes down, at the end of the day, it comes down to money, and it comes down to the viewership, and let's find courses that are so big and so wide that we can just pack hundreds and thousands of people in it to watch. So it's like, yeah, what's the main focus? Their skill set level, to see how we can truly test them, or how can we sell as many tickets and pack as many people as possible? And obviously they're going to go with option B, with the people. And it's a shame because there are so many. There are millions of courses out there. Even like Seminole, I mean, it showed a true test. And even besides like the broadcast part of it overtaking it, you saw Ricky trying to coach Matt Wolff on, you got to place your shot here in order for the ball to release on the green this way. Like, you have to be very strategic on your second shot. And like, one of the things that I really liked watching about it is you had 3 guys in young, like early 30s to mid 30s, who have been on the tour for 10 or 10 plus years. You have this kid in his 20s, 1 year on tour, coming out, all eyes watching these 4 guys, the entire golf community, to where this kid had probably the most pressure on him to basically, and he even said it, he goes, now's my time to prove that I can actually hang with these guys. I mean, you have high-end leveled experienced tour players to this rookie, and that's a lot of pressure. And I think he handled himself very well today. And obviously he had that longest drive, 356, and I think he was actually in the fairway on that. So it just showed that, these guys have skill, and if you really put them to the test, you will see the best come out.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too. I think there's a point in time where, people moan and complain about some of these US Open venues being too hard. And I mean, yes and no. I think in situations like you saw at Shinnecock, where a guy can't hold a ball on the green, maybe water the front edge a little, let it at least hold and reward good play. But at the same time, the US Open is supposed to be the toughest test in golf. So if the winning score is +2, +3, then that was the best golfer that week, plain and simple. I mean, they're all playing the same course, same track, same conditions. So maybe they got an early flight and missed a heavy rain in the afternoon or something, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. That's life. That's golf. There's so many phenomenal golf courses out there. And I think Seminole made a great pitch today. Well, this is Sunday. Listeners are here on Tuesday, but Seminole made a great pitch to be in the conversation, to have a PGA Championship, to have a US Open. And I can tell you right now, those guys today played the members course. They didn't play a tricked out major championship course. The rough wasn't grown up. The greens could have been 10 times nastier than what they were. That course has teeth. And I think that course will get its shot at a major championship. And I hope more courses like it do. But then again, Dante, you brought up a great point. It's all about money. And I think we had that conversation earlier today as we were watching the broadcast. It's a shame that, and I know this is how the world works, and it just is what it is, but it's a shame more courses don't open their doors. Seminole is a notoriously high-end, wealthy club, and you have to have some serious cash to get in there. But there's a enormous amount of courses, and especially notorious courses that are Donald Ross designs that the general public will just never see in their lifetime because they don't have enough money.
Exist.
Correct. Or don't know exist simply because they don't have money. And I think that's another gap in the game of golf. Dante, you and I were talking about it, that I don't know how it changes, but it needs to change. Whether people go semi-private and allow public play, or, Pebble Beach doesn't have any issues with that, and they're public. They're expensive as all get out to get on. But if you have the money, you can go play. It's not like you have to know a guy that knows a guy that knows your dead great uncle Abe Lincoln, or something like that. Like you can go play if you want to at Pebble Beach. You can at Seminole. You simply can't. And I think that's another point in the game of golf, and I'd love to know your guys' perspective on it, of just how we can grow as a game. I think opening up the doors to these, like barricaded golf courses, I think is a good number one step.
Absolutely. But I think one of the biggest things that has to happen in order for the game to grow further is purse sizes on the PGA Tour actually need to shrink.
Mm.
I think that these athletes are being paid way too much.
I'm interested
$1.2 million for 4 days of golf.
I was going to say, I'm interested to maybe see what direction you think that could head in, because 1.2 million, obviously astronomical amount. It's life-changing money. It's generational money.
Yeah.
For 4 days of golf, absolutely absurd. I'd like anyone else to, maybe even, hell, I'd like anyone else to challenge 4 days of work in any other pro sport. Guys get paid, 40, 50 million multi-year contracts though, right. 5 year, 6 year, 7 year deals. Mm-hmm. Guys can make, if they wanted to. You look at Rory, for instance, he won 2 FedEx Cups now. That's 20 million. That's 10 million a piece, plus the perks, plus the 2 point whatever million, in one tournament for the FedEx Cup, and he had to win to get in that. Yeah. He won, close to 20 million in a year.
Endorsements and everything else.
It's incredible. And I'd love to hear, because you talk about Nicholas and Gary Player and all those guys. Hell, their career earnings were in the hundreds of thousands. They weren't even in the millions. Mm-hmm. What do you think what direction do you think that can go to maybe even level out? Like, can it disperse amongst the field? Because, I think that money's in golf, and I think a whole purse is good, but giving that much to the winner, you think can disperse amongst the rest of the players?
Yeah, I think it certainly should trickle down further than what it does. I really don't think that the winner should be discredited. I think if you've worked hard, you put the time in, obviously you beat some of the best players in the world, you should be rewarded and you should be paid well. That's just how it is. But tournament golf doesn't exist without money. However, when purse sizes are 1.2 plus million dollars, that basically shows us that the PGA or the Golf Channel or whoever's hosting the event has a surplus of or they have more motivation to sell 500,000 tickets for that event. How else are they going to pad the purse? Nobody's going to cough up a total of $25 million for a purse. It's just not going to happen. And you do that times 30 events in a season, it's an astronomical amount of money. But when your purse sizes are, 1.2 to the winner, you have to sell a ton of tickets. And then your emphasis is on advertisements.
Yeah, heck, I'm looking here, you look at the Memorial Jacks tournament, close to 10 million, 1.7 to the winner. Mm-hmm. The Wells Fargo, which is, it's a good tournament, but it's not like, it's not notorious.
Still big.
7.9 million purse, 1.5 to the winner. Mm-hmm. And then, heck, you get into the big ones, the WGCs, they're over 10 million purse, almost 2 to the winner. And then, it just goes on and up in there from there. The U.S. Open, 2.75 to the winner, almost $14 million purse. So, it's an astronomical amount of money. And, I'd love to see, I don't know what the hell last place gets, but it's probably in the thousands. I don't even think it's the tens of thousands. to last place. And I mean, not that I say you should get paid for a lot for last place, but if you make a cut, you're in the top 30 some guys in the world at that point, and should get, your due diligence for it. But yeah, it's an interesting take. And I don't know how to completely fix it, but it definitely, I think you're right in the fact that, it's overpaid to one person. And if you trickle down the effect to the rest of the field, that's generational money to, 30, 40 people instead of one person.
Yeah.
And I think that trickle down money can then, even disperse into the mini tours too, which I think are, disproportionately underpaid for their ultimate grind. And we talk about it all the time. And I think it's something that always has been that way too. Yeah. It does. It's one of those things that could change, and I would like to see change too. But when you were going around mini tours too, which it just popped into my head here, what were some of those courses that you were getting to see that you were like, man, that could be a PGA Tour stop? Like that has potential to really challenge the guys out there.
There's those sorts of courses are few and far between, either because the fairways are too wide or the green complexes are too flat. Most of the time I was seeing some courses where there just wasn't enough pin locations, and logistically there's not enough hotels close enough that you could bring in 100,000 people without them commuting an hour and a half to get there. So that being said, I mean, I maybe saw a couple of them down in Florida that could host an event. The one that comes to mind is called the Fox Club in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I mean, you've probably never heard of it, but it is a very private club. We were fortunate to get out there for a G Pro event. Shout out to Gary, who hosts that tour. They're doing great things, and they keep growing every year. But the Fox Club, they had perfectly manicured Bermuda from tee to green. The greens were probably a 10.5, not lightning fast, but perfectly smooth, like putting on a pool table. Just an absolutely luscious facility. Anybody would be privileged to go out and play there. So that being said, there's plenty of courses hidden, such as Seminole, that I would like to see tour stops made there. And when the wind got up on that course, there's potential to shoot 85. And if it was down, you could shoot almost nothing. So
yeah, it's cool. And I think like we said when we started the conversation, there's so many courses out there, I think, nationally that are just knocking on the door, but we'll never get the limelight because we constantly go back to the same, 8 or 9 or 10 courses in the rotation, and obviously I want to see the courses like Marion go back to that. I obviously want to see the guys go back to Pebble.
And Augusta,
obviously, I'm not saying change the major venues, but I'm saying places that just got a shot, like Erin Hills and like Chambers Bay. I want to see more places like that. I want to see more places get a shot and see golf in different parts of the country that we're just not used to seeing it. We're still playing at the same courses that Arnie and Jack did, and I think it's only because, well, yeah, because they did. It's like that conversation we saw pop up, Dante, on Twitter all day today. Everyone that was in the old man golf mentality was crying wolf about those guys not wearing pants. And I'm like, are we still on that topic too? I'm sorry if you're offended by calves, but come on, man. Like, you're obviously not a friend of Phil Mickelson then.
Yeah,
but
for real.
Geez, it just blew my mind that, like, that was the conversation we're going to grab from today. You have world-class players playing at Seminole, a course that we've never seen before, and you want to talk about pants. Because Hogan wouldn't wear pants, or Hogan wouldn't wear shorts, and that was the conversation. Like, if that's what's holding golf back too, and Dante and I talk about this constantly. If you have the mentality of, well, that's how we always did it, so that's how it's going to be, we're never going to grow as a game. And that's the biggest thing I think in golf right now that's really holding the full game back is that mentality.
Speaking of that mentality, the way you do things, right? Obviously, they have these tour events, and the way that things are, you have a broadcast, you have these open courses with these large amounts of people allowed to be in. Well, now we come to a time where, we're in this state of mind where, we have this fear of wanting to go out, and, they have this virus that's around, that's, is harmful to some and not harmful to others, but it's also putting fear into people to where they're, you know what, I'm gonna be a little bit more cautious and stay back on certain things, to where you were now. Look at the time we're living in with the technology, to where you're doing a lot of telecommuting, a lot of telemedia, right? Look at what we just watched. We had hundreds of thousands of people tune into an event, to a course that basically has never held a PGA event or whatever, or basically isn't even in the thought, to where you can, this is my idea, and it all comes down to money, but put money aside, to where you can have these type of events, maybe have like a smaller field, you know, go to courses that are logistical nightmares, because like you said, Isaiah, because of limited hotels, and, you know, the nearest hotel is actually maybe 25 miles to the course, and you don't have enough space, to where like you do something with like a PGA Live app or something, to where like you can pay in to go see this this event, but it's all uncut and you can see what you want to see as if you're actually there. Like, have telecommuted events at courses that are logistical nightmares, in order to, you know, test these players, and also, you know, give this course an opportunity to showcase what they can do, and actually put these players to a test. I think that's something coming out of this pandemic era, to, you know, obviously things are going to be a lot different down the road. People are going to look at things differently. So, all right, if we're having telecommuting, you know, hospitals and doctors, and, you know, a lot of businesses are working from home, well, why not do it with a sporting event? You may not be there, but allow the viewer to be able to access an application in order to see what they want to see, and pay, you know, all right, here's my $50 entry ticket. I'm gonna go follow Bubba Watson 1 through 18.
Yeah,
I think you're spot on.
I can do that. I can do that telecommute.
The pay-per-view opportunities, I think, like we talked about earlier, or something like it, through a platform like a PGA Tour Live app, where you're just plugged in, where you literally, you know, whether it's mics on the guy's bag so they don't have to wear them and like be constricted, or the caddies wear the mics, or whatever, some way for these guys to have start to finish, you know, just full inside access for the viewers. It just blows my mind that they don't do it yet. And I think this match did kind of open up that opportunity and open up those airwaves of saying, well, we did this. The broadcast sucked, but now what can we do? You know, we've obviously done it and did it successfully. They aired it on, you know, live TV, and it went as it went, but it was, you know, successful in the fact that they did it. It was successful in the fact that it happened. You know, the players didn't mind it. It didn't seem like they were too bothered by the mics at all throughout the day today. So it happened. You know, trial runs are always shaky at the beginning. So I guess maybe kudos to them for making it happen with limited staff and no TV towers or big, you know, huge cameras. Like when you could see the couple panoramas of like who was there and what was there, there was no like big media, like, you know, trucks or anything like that. It was a couple golf carts and some guys carrying cameras. So I think it tested, maybe if you want to call it, you know, PGA Tour light version of like, you know, how skin and bones they could get a broadcast down to without having to, you know, lose integrity of broadcasting. I thought picture was great. I thought, you know, sound quality was great. There was nothing lacking there. So you know, kudos to them for doing that well. So I would love to see more small time, you know, I guess you want to call it intimate style settings at courses that we never get, you know, the inset. I would Pine Valley, put Pine Valley on the map, dude. Like, come on, you know, courses like that are just notoriously driven by the members, gated communities. The public will never see it. It drives revenue for the club. It drives revenue for, you know, for a good cause. Shit, we don't need a pandemic to do this for a cause. Do it for world hunger. Do it for HIV/AIDS in third world countries. Do it for other stuff that the world is actually dealing with. And I think you'll get more international players involved. You know, John Rahm said he was dying to do this, but couldn't. You get John Rahm and the entire like Spanish population involved in it. And then, I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And, you know, it was the tip of the iceberg today, but I'd love to see more of it.
For sure. I mean, it's got to be more personal. I mean, we got to stop having a separator between the average golfer and the PGA Tour broadcast. And if that means caddies are wearing sunglasses that have small video cameras in them so that we can see what they're seeing, what they're looking at, actually for once see a green from eye level instead of a tower,
100%.
that would be huge.
Yeah.
Because all I see is a flat surface from up there.
I was going to
so,
say,
oh, wow, where is it going to go?
For the last 20, 30 years.
Oh, go ahead. You got Augusta. Look at Augusta. Everybody says, like, it's TV does not do it justice of how undulated that entire course is.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yep.
And you're just sitting there like, are you sure about that? And then you have people that go, they're like, no, it's hilly.
Yeah, and that blows my mind too. We said it time and time again today. We have the technology to do so. Why are we not doing it? Because to give those people that for the last 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years say, oh, well, I just don't see the undulation. I don't get it. We don't see that from a TV, perspective. To give them that view, that would blow people's minds. Because there's still people out there that I guarantee you don't believe that Augusta is as hilly or as undulated or as challenging of a walk as what it truly is. And that goes for a lot of tour courses. There's a lot of tour courses that have a ton of elevation that we just don't see, especially in the green complexes. A lot of undulation and when guys hit putts that break a certain way, they're like, well, how in the hell did that go that way? I didn't see that from the TV. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I think there is that technology out there to give us that perspective.
And a prime example from my experience is I went to when they had the Barclays was part of like the FedEx playoffs. My dad and I a few years ago went to the Barclays. It was in Edison, New Jersey at Plainfield Country Club. Now you're thinking New Jersey, it's more like the North Jersey. So I was like, okay, whatever. You look at it, Google Maps, it's like, wow, this course is like kind of flat. Nope. There was some it was the ninth hole. So the way like you walked in, they like the grandstand or whatever the hell, like the entrance way, you like walk through the kind of this little like built community that they have with food shops and all that. Then you walk down and then now you're just open and on the course. It's the ninth hole. People are coming up on the ninth hole. Well, the ninth hole was kind of like a short par 4. Maybe like 350, 375 or something like that. But they were teeing off so low. The green was like well above their heads. And what they were doing is the middle of the fairway actually kind of was like this giant like quarter pipe almost. It looked like that was maybe like 10 to 12 feet high, like this little hill. And they were just like hitting into this hill and then it would roll down. So they actually had a flat surface to where they could just wedge it onto the green. And it was just insane because I was like walking by and I looked down and it almost looked like as deep as if like anybody who's like knows like skateboarding or whatnot or like extreme sports, when you see those bowls, like that's how deep it was, like those skate bowls that guys were skating. And that's how deep I looked down and barely can even see the guy's head. And it just goes to show that, you look on screen on TV or on Google Maps or whatnot, that what they're providing you does not do it justice of actually when you're actually there.
They better fix it on 2K21.
I was just going to say that, boys. What is our feelings about the new PGA Tour 2K21? They did come out and say that they're going to have, hopefully a plethora of courses and a plethora of the players as well. So here's what I got to ask. If it's 2K21, does Tiger sign the dotted line to have his likeness on 2K21? Or does he hold out and say, bitch, name that Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2021? What are you doing to me?
Well, I kind of been following this already, and they always come around. So basically, if you look at the it's 2K, and if you see it's HB Studios as well. HB Studios signed with 2K last year with the golf club in 2019 that had some PGA licensing. So I guess they rebranded the name as PGA 2K21. It's basically the golf club enhanced. It's the golf club 2019 that's enhanced. So I think it's still going to be like the golf club 2019, which is a great game, but it doesn't have that Tiger Woods PGA mentality. I think they're building like characters to emulate, like Justin Thomas, and like you'll actually be able to like select pros and use actual certain stuff. But it's just the Golf Club 2019 rebranded. But I am excited to see. So hopefully they keep majority of what they have from the Golf Club 2019, because the customization of actually course building is huge. But if they can incorporate more PGA Tour stuff, more like gear and players, I think you can start seeing a new PGA game for the consoles coming out in the future. And I think they can definitely ramp that up and make it something special.
Oh, for sure. And, we talk about this all the time too, but video games are such a big kind of intro for kids into games, the physical games. Kids play 2K and want to play basketball, for the NBA 2K. Kids play I don't even know what it is now. Is it MLB
the
Show?
The Show.
Yeah. Kids play MLB The Show, and as Mike Trout hit bombs and then want to go and play baseball. I think it's an awesome opportunity for the game of golf yet again to strike gold in a market that they had for the last generation, basically since they cut ties with PGA Tour, Tiger Woods PGA Tour, to get back into the hands of kids and to get back into the video gamers and stoke another fire of, man, I want to get out and play golf. I want to play golf because of PGA 2K. I think that's another opportunity that they're finally diving back into. And for all of us hardcore golf nuts out there, we have been deprived of a good golf game for what seems like a while before the golf club came out. And now to see them kind of rebranding and shifting and making, agreements with the PGA Tour, it's exciting to see. Something PGA Tour branded has been missing from video game for far too long.
Yeah, and it's definitely it's my escape for golf when there's, it wasn't this year, but on normal winters when there's snow on the ground and I can't get outside to actually go play, it's my escape to, how can I still put golf in kind of like my weekend regimen? And the game, the video game aspect is there. I mean, I'll defend that game. I think it's the realest on a simulation level, besides playing on a simulator yourself. It's the closest thing you have to realistic golf, because you're doing a lot of it as a golfer. It's not like the EA Sports PGA Tour where like with Tiger and all that, and you're smashing it's not arcade to where you're smashing that button and you're driving like 400 yards. It's pretty realistic, and you have to like really account for your lies, your carries, and wind especially, and actually course terrain. So that's my escape when I wasn't
excited for it. I'm excited for it to come out, and I haven't had a gaming console for the longest time, but might just make me pick one up. But that begs another question we'll answer it at another date. But Xbox or PlayStation?
Oh,
we'll let you answer that
all day.
PlayStation it all day. I had an Xbox before this, and before the Xbox, I had a PlayStation 2. That was my last PlayStation experience. Jeez. Dude, I haven't had a gaming console.
I mean, you guys can probably figure out, I'm a gamer myself, so I'm still stayed in tune and all that. But nowadays they're doing it on an online aspect. Everything's cross compatible, so PC and Xbox and PlayStation's all playing together. So at this point, who gives a shit?
It's all about controller. I was gonna say it's all about controller comfortability at that point, right?
Right, exactly.
Xbox awesome. For me, for sure.
Yeah, I think I might have to go that direction. I played it for so long, but we'll see. So I'm excited. But Dante, you said your game is trending downwards, but hopefully coming back upwards. Mine was trending. Ugh. Mine was trending better. We haven't talked about Isaiah's game here. Big man, have you been playing with all these hours you've been putting in?
Shoot, I've been playing just about once a week. But last time I played, I think I shot one over this past week, and I hadn't touched the club in a month.
Well, there you go. That's not all too shabby.
Not too shabby. Hit some interesting shots. I hit a hybrid 125 yards on one hole and about 200 yards in the air. So that was a lot of fun. Played a couple wedges over greens.
How does that happen? 125 yards with 200 in the air. What, it hit a couple tree monkeys on the way down?
You know that, what is it, the seventh groove on the top of your hybrid? Yeah. No idiot mark though, so we're good.
Whoops.
No idiot mark.
Yeah.
For now.
God love the
Nice.
idiot mark. That's cool, man.
Uh,
we haven't seen how you've been playing and stuff, and I was always curious. So cool to hear. Granted, I played it a pitch and putt, but threw a couple even par rounds in there. But
Hey, solid.
for
I
an
try.
old guy, you can't play too much.
Yeah. Especially with quarantine, right?
Yeah,
Lockdown.
hey,
Can't do too much.
Maryland's open,
first,
New Jersey's open, Virginia, you've always been open, so we're all three back at golf, man.
the first couple rounds that I've been playing, and Isaiah told me, I was like, yo, dude, how do I get, I need speed, and speed equals distance. I'm trying to get an extra couple yardage. He goes, get the super speed sticks, which I have, and I think from what I've been doing, it's been working and whatnot, and I've been working on my game a lot when I wasn't out on the course. So now I'm out there, I'm going out there, I'm hitting draw, like the first couple rounds, right? First couple holes, hit the ball off the tee, great, right? And I'm like, oh, cool. I'm actually a little shorter into the green. Get out a wedge, boom, 165 yards, sculled across the green. It was great. It's great. The touch wasn't there. Touch is coming back. Putter is actually my number one club right now. It's getting off the tee and then getting there is, as I like to say, my towards is way off right now. But hey, I'm out there swinging the club finally. So.
I was gonna say only one way to fix it: go out and swing some more, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
take a rest day and then do that.
Isaiah, New Jersey opened May 2nd. It's now May 17th. I didn't play one day during that time.
I'm sorry. Should have come down here.
No.
Looking to play. Come here.
He played 18 days straight.
Basically I played.
I
only took one day off and have been playing since we opened May 2nd in New Jersey to now, which is May 17th. So my body is like, take a break, bro.
So you're saying in basically 2 weeks, you still haven't figured out your towards?
Oh, dude, it's all over the place. Now my towards is in my head.
So you're not enjoying the walk.
That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Once your towards is in your head, you need to take a break.
Yeah. For sure.
Give the hooves a break.
Well, awesome, boys. Sure. That's awesome. I'm just pumped we're all back, man. I don't think I realized how much I really missed golf because I thought I had it in the form of like indoor golf, and I had the simulator up, and I had this, that, and the other things. Dude, I missed outdoor golf. I missed actual course golf. There's nothing that's the same as what we have when we had golf back. So I'm excited for all of us to be back. A little jealous, Isaiah. You never shut down, but in retrospect, I'm jealous. I got some downtime just to kick it back and do nothing for a couple days. So, but yeah, man, excited to have you back on the podcast. Always a joy, and hopefully it'll be more of a regular occurrence if we can figure out some scheduling. So excited to have you back, man. And guys, as always, you can head out to www.enjoythewalkpod.com. Check out our merch. Check out our stories. Yeah, Isaiah's got that golf mug there, the game of golf, kind of inspired from the life game of life board game. And he's got some 32 cool polos there with our logos on it, which are up on the shop as well. So guys, check that out if you want to support our podcast. We are non-sponsored, and it is just us guys making it work. So any and all purchases and donations would greatly be appreciated, and just helping us grow and share our podcast too. Guys, go to iTunes and subscribe, or Spotify or Stitcher, wherever you guys listen, and give that a subscribe and a share button as well. You can share us pretty much anywhere, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter as well. So give it a share, guys. It would mean the world. And thanks for listening along with our crazy stories and what we think about the game of golf. And whether you like it, whether you don't, let us know and interact with us on Instagram or Twitter at Enjoy the Walk Pod. Tell us what you think. So guys, get out there, carry your clubs. And I think, pretty much everyone's back. I don't think any states are shut down anymore. So enjoy the walk, guys. We're back. Golf's back. Isaiah's back.
I'm back, baby.
Enjoy
the walk.